Okay, everybody. I don't even know how many of these have we had now? Are we going on 7?
No, I think it's pointed out.
Oh, yes. So I film just in case any disruptions happen that we want to have on film, but I don't put that up on the channel. I only put the audio up. So that way, and I know I say this every time, but just so you know, because we all shop at the same grocery store and I want to feel like we can speak freely without, incriminating ourselves for thinking our own thoughts. So yes, so that's what that's up for, but don't worry about that. It won't be used unless necessary. So yes, so I think we started in March. March was the first one, but we skipped one. So we've been at this a while and I'm so happy to see you all here. We are going to be talking about protecting our elections, the suppression of citizen rights, the proposed widening of, I have to read it because the proposed widening and reconstruction of SR11, this Murphy Highway that's going to start at Blue Ridge and go to Ivy Log, and the new tax bill, and the citizens that have been rectifying government oversights. We are going to put the protecting the election a little bit later in this meeting because Lori is going to be coming and she has a lot of information to share on that, but she works, so we're going to wait for her on that one. But before we get started, we're going to begin with an invocation. And Cindy, will you lead us in that?
Sure.
Okay.
Father, we thank you, Lord, for this time that we have to gather together and discuss concerns and issues in our county, Lord. I ask that you would be with us. I ask that you would give us wisdom and discernment, Lord, on how to move forward on these things. And I just ask, Lord, now that you would be with us and equip us to go out into our community and make a difference. And I ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And will you be our flag holder? Okay. All right. We finally have a flag. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's begin with the proposed widening of the road and the reconstruction of the road.
Yeah.
The only thing that I know about that is I heard that it's going to come all the way to Blue Ridge, and I think it involves a turnabout or a roundabout.
Mm-hmm.
So would that be at the intersection where the gas station is, over by Drug and Gun?
Yes, yeah, that's the intersection.
So we would have 2 roundabouts right there, because there's one right over here. And then all the way to Ivy Log, and so they are having a meeting to discuss that, but it's at the same day and time as the commissioner meeting. And that is the extent to which I have information. Yes.
On that, it's like that meeting that you and I went to. It's an open meeting, so it's not a sit-down meeting. It's you walk in, and it's from 5 to 7. So the commissioners' meeting is not until 6. So if you get there at 5, you'll be able to stroll through and take a look at everything and talk to them. So it's just like that same open meeting that we had.
Yeah, and it's at the Union County Recreation Department, the Sports Center at 519 Industrial Boulevard.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's very casual. You walk in, there'll be some guys there, there'll be maps, you can browse around, you can give your input, and they may even have you fill out a survey. Usually on those things, when you go in, like we did that one, you filled out a little survey and you walked around and you looked at the maps on the wall, and so it's that kind of a meeting. So it's not a sit-down meeting.
Okay. Well,
If
that makes it
somebody
easier.
wants to take a picture of this on their phone, I got this in the mail.
Okay, yes, I want to, and I said that before, and then I didn't get the picture, so I'm gonna make sure that happens.
It's 5 to 7, so if you get there at 5, you should have plenty of time to still make the commissioners' meeting.
And it's not far from there.
Right.
Okay, well, that is really good to know. Can anyone present any pros and cons for this so that we know what to be looking at? Yes.
I'm against it. I lived off of 129 for 20 years, and my house faces 129. So I've got right there where the bridge is, the marina, and I just don't think it's necessary. You know, Pat Caldwell, I can see maybe a need to do something there. But other than that, I mean, getting in and out is not that bad to me, you know, and I have to get out on that road all the time.
Right.
But, and
Is
by
Pat
7 o'clock,
Caldwell-
it's, you know, the road's dead.
Right.
Pat Caldwell, it's horrible.
Yeah,
Is
that
Pat
is
Caldwell the
horrible.
road that
Oh,
ends at
Suppression
Grinds and
of
Glazes? Is that?
No, that's industrial.
Oh, okay.
It's another bad.
That's a pretty rough, that's why when you said that, I just immediately thought of that intersection for some reason.
Shoe
Pat
factory
Caldwell's by the
road.
Valero.
Yeah,
Oh, right, okay.
yeah, that's a terrible place. I totally agree with that. And then when you go where the McDonald's is, it's not really that bad.
Right,
You know, not for the money and the construction.
right. I don't
That's
know
my
if
opinion.
I don't know if it has anything to do with it, but I remember last year looking up grants for my children's school. I was looking at grants for the state in Georgia, and I just saw one grant after another for rural town infrastructure. Just popped in my head. It's like a important Georgia item. Kim,
Well, just from listening to the planning meetings,
You go to
they
those
want they want economic growth, they
Right.
want, more, places for people, who work to live. And if they open up that corridor, they will be able to develop, the subdivisions and the visions that they have. So I think maybe it's traffic, but I think it's more for growth. And I hate to say this too, but this is just my opinion, I think it's already a done deal. I think that this
Absolutely.
meeting is just to appease us, so it's gonna happen. So, what we really have to be aware of is how the vision is for, developing that corridor and the ideas that they have for the subdivisions that they're, their vision. It's not that anything is in the works officially that I know of, but it's their vision. So, and how we keep the integrity of the area, the beauty of the area, the natural, look of the area, and not have it just be a bunch of houses right next to each other.
right.
That's just my,
They also need to have some classes on how to use a roundabout.
and I'll tell you, I'm just gonna put this in here, coming here today, that four-way stop there by the old Bilo, I went through, I was going through it, and some guy, I guess he thought that I was waiting too long for my turn, and he ran right in front of me, and I had to jam on the brakes. So,
That's
that,
terrible.
it happens all the time.
Somebody did that to me
Yes.
the other day and just
They
waited.
don't, I'm waiting to make sure everybody is really not gonna go, and then I start to go, and then he roars through. So it's because people don't do it properly.
Right.
But whether it needs a roundabout, I just needs,
I was told it wasn't, they weren't doing a roundabout anymore.
Oh, yeah?
okay.
Like that they were literally stopping at Ivilog.
Oh, and I would love.
Yeah, no, the little flyer says they're going to Blue Ridge Street.
Pat Caldwell, there's
Well,
one.
I also know Murphy is
Blue Ridge
developing it.
Yeah,
the
Blue
other
Ridge
way,
Street is
if
where
that's
the
helpful.
four-way stop is.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Dragon
so,
Den, that's gonna be the
No,
roundabout.
I mean,
hold on,
that up.
one at a
oh,
time.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
They were gonna do one at Ivy Log,
Right, yeah, yeah, that's gonna be the roundabout is there, where the four-way
Gotcha.
stop is.
Okay, we wanna hear all your information, but we gotta hear it one at a time so that it goes in here and people can hear it that aren't able to come. So Kim just said that, that Murphy is also developing.
They're doing some improvements right when you come off of 64. I'm getting this from Facebook. I haven't gone to any of their meetings.
Okay.
But these are, I'm taking these as, just like when we put things out there.
Right.
They're putting in a bike path along there. I think it's by the flea market. They're
Yeah.
kind of extending that and making, for tourists. It's specifically to bring people in. I know bikers on the roads are not good.
No, I was thinking because there are some of us that are not acclimated to riding up these incredible like ups and downs, and I see these people riding and I think, wow, you're a hero. So somewhere flat, I might actually be able to ride my bike. Okay, so just wanting to get all perspectives because we don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction to the idea of development. However, because it makes sense. You want to have somewhere for the workers to live.
And it
But
all ties into
also-
64 too, because they're extending 64 between, aren't they improving it between Hayesville and Murphy? Aren't they?
Yeah.
I thought that was supposed to be first.
Yeah, well,
Right.
that's it's part of a big, if you go to the planning things, there's I mean, this is, out like 10 years, 15 years. But they're trying to connect everything with, 4 lanes, like what they did with 515, to bring merchants in, businesses in, and people in. They're trying to develop the area. So I don't think I just don't know how you stop that.
Right. Hold on, Cindy, you were gonna add something and I forgot to come back to you.
Yeah, I forget now.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, yes.
I remember they did that study, when the casino came in too, and said, oh, it's gonna bring in all this traffic up and down that road, and they were trying to do a study back then and said, oh, but like I said, I've lived on that road, it has not changed that much at all. We get our fall people coming up, we get our April people coming up, but other than that, you didn't see much of a change from the casino people.
Does anyone else have anything that they want to add to this opinion or information? Yes.
I came late, I'm sorry.
Oh. No,
Where
I'm glad you're
Mike's
here.
is, and where, was that discussed, where Save-A-Lot, Mike's, Wesley Mountain Drive, Amiga Restaurant on the other side, Leon's Floor, was that discussed, that area in this group? Because it said it was gonna be 4 lanes, and I don't know what they mean by 4 lanes.
Well, that's wide. Huh.
That's a tragedy, that spot.
Huh. I don't know. Does anyone know?
It's supposed to be 4 lanes from, Blue Ridge Street out. And then at Pat Cowell, it's supposed to go to 3 lanes, which would be 2 lanes, one going one way, one going the other, and a turn lane in the middle.
But what's 4 lanes?
4 lanes would be a divided, well, not necessarily a divided
That's what I
highway,
have to
but
know.
it would be 4
Like
lanes, yeah.
515 is in
4
front of
lanes.
Ingalls, like in front of Ingalls.
Yeah, like in
Well,
front of
that's
Ingalls.
actually 5 lanes, because there's a
Well,
turn
that's what I
lane there.
mean, I don't, and I
Yeah.
went on there to get the site, and I can't get it, so I have to go to that meeting. I don't know what they mean by 4 lanes.
Yeah, usually it can be a divided highway, or it could just be 4 lanes.
Right now, we have
They're not
3
gonna
lanes
do it
and the
divided
seaside lane in the
Right.
middle.
I
Right.
don't think so.
And then the cross.
Yeah, and that's the way it is after Pat Cowell. It's supposed to be 3 lanes, 2 lanes, and a suicide lane. Is that, and my personal opinion is that area needs the 3 lanes, it needs the turning lane. If you go out there to where the new wedding venue is, you will see skid marks out there, probably 15, 20 long black skid marks there, because it's just a 2 lane there. They come out of there, they're headed down the hill, you can't see it, and people are turning into that venue, and you'll see a huge amount of skid marks in there. I mean, just since they put that venue in. So I'm for the 3 lane out there, I'm for the turning lane. But I would like to see it just go all the way, if they're gonna do it, go all the way to the state line. It makes no sense to stop it at Ivy Log when they've got 3/4 of a mile to finish to the state line, but it is what it is.
So what we've got there now is what you're talking about, which is, we work around it, but they want to change it to 4 lane,
Yeah.
so I don't know what that means.
Right. Well, okay, so we discussed that the meeting is going to be at the rec center, right? The rec center, 519 Industrial Boulevard, and it's a walkthrough. So it's before the commissioner meeting. It starts at 5, but it's not a sit-down meeting. So we can go in and look at everything and ask questions and give our opinion,
At 5
from my
o'clock.
understanding. At 5 o'clock on the Thursday, it's the same Thursday as the commissioner meeting. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, everybody, for sharing your information on that. When we're all in one room and we get to all answer questions and share our opinions and all that, then we get a lot more information than what we would have just sitting at home mulling over it ourselves. Okay,
Alexis?
yes,
May I add something to that?
yes,
I think it was Memorial Day, you guys had Stan King, which is the appraiser for state taxes up here. And we also had Hansel, which is the
Yes.
urban development here. And you know, when they talk about bringing people in here, they need to look, and she mentioned apartments or subdivisions. What they are trying to do is turn our county into a welfare county where the housing is going to be affordable housing, which is going to be subsidized housing, regardless of what you call it. Now, also during Hansel's comments, he was talking about bringing new industry into our county, and also he failed to recognize when I asked, where are they going to get the water? Where are they going to get the power? Where are they going to get the necessities to provide industrial jobs into our county? So if they do have just the affordable housing that they're going to construct, those people will not use our local people. They have organizations that they bring in here, they construct those, so our people will never see any benefit from those. So I think when they start talking about building these highways, I think they're getting into the buggy before they hook the horse up, because there are certain necessities that people are gonna have. Take trash removal. You know, we don't have adequate trash removal or handling in this county. These are issues that are very important to the success, to the growth of our county and bringing people into our county.
Right.
Can I add to some of that? So their vision is in tiers, kind of. I mean, I've spoken with Mr. Griggs, so, and I'm just gonna say this up front. I think that they are doing the best they can. They have, I mean, we are growing regardless of what, I mean, like they said, you can't put a gate across 515 and stop people. It's just, so you have to be responsible in how you develop. Now, I know, you know, their job is to develop, so I'm just gonna put that out there too, that but there are tiers to this. Right now, they're starting with, and they call it, was it tax deferred or something, where the contractor gets a lower, I don't know, they agree to make it for less money, and in turn, they can, I don't know, they get something like a tax defer or something. So that is that's for everything from entry-level teachers, hospital workers, people that work at Aldi's, you know, our entry-level police. I mean, these are like entry-level wage earners. And then there's like the middle income. The final one, what they want, this is what really concerns me a lot, is because it's gonna start looking like where I came from and wanted to escape. They want to build upscale houses, maybe $400,000, $500,000 houses, but they're all right on top of each other. They're all, it's like a planned community, and it has green space around it to make it look like it's, you know, kind of to hide it. But once you do that, you have totally changed the rural aspect of, you know, they can tuck apartments here and there, they can do that, but once they start mass producing, and they want to do that because they want to get a higher tax bracket of people in here so they can earn more money with their taxes. But this is, I mean, I'm talking, this is a long-term plan. This isn't like in 5 years but by building the corridors, the 2 corridors they're building, they will be able to do that in the long term. So the whole point is getting these roads in. But I don't know how you stop GDOT from building the roads, because they're in it for the money too, so.
It sounds to me, I mean, it just, all I can imagine is a machine feeding itself.
Yes.
I mean, because I don't hear anything about, and I mean, not on this subject, but I mean ever, about what we're doing for our small businesses, you know, and like the actual people.
And to protect.
Just the businesses, the big businesses.
To protect what it is now. We need things in place to protect what it is. I know you don't want, you know, you don't want ordinances, you don't want zoning, you don't want all those things, but, you know, people are just gonna come in and develop everything if we don't put some kind of protective measure in. And one of the things that gets thrown out to me all the time when I'm talking about this is that what percent of our land in Union County is national forest. It's like 64% or something, and they said it'll never not be rural because we have all that forest, but if you just jam pack everything in
Who
there.
owns that forest is the question.
I don't know. Well, I don't, yeah, that's a good point. I don't know.
So it could, I guess it could change, really.
It may not be our national forest anymore.
Cindy and then Wesley.
But I don't, my concern is, and the reason I go to these meetings, and I have since I've gotten here, is because I just don't want it to turn into Canton or any other, I mean, I went down to Dawsonville the other day to go to Kroger's, and I thought, this is what we're gonna turn into if we don't somehow manage what's happening.
Well, and it's not just the small rural thing. I mean, Union County is actually a really special place. And I mean, Union County was based on small businesses. And you had your family business, you had your gift to give back to the community, and the community needed that service, so they provided you provided them, and everyone had everything covered. And, that created, there weren't a lot of jobs, so of course my mom had to move out to go work. That's what happened with us, but that's a really important aspect of it. And I don't see that being, we hear all these people saying new people coming in trying to change everything, but I don't hear any of them trying to protect what actually Union County actually is. Cindy and then Wesley.
Yeah, so the saying goes, if you build it, they will come, okay? So I know we can't shut the door, but the fact is we're going to lose this rural area because that is exactly what they want to do, and that's exactly what they're gonna do. I don't know about timeframes like you're saying, but that's what they want to do. They're going to blow this place up. I was just down in Cobb County this morning. I mean, exactly. They've got these huge homes up on the hill, and they're all. If there's this much space between them,
You can't even
it's a
walk
lot.
between them.
I mean, it's ridiculous
Yeah.
down there.
That's what they
This is what they're wanting to do. I mean, and I know, like people say, oh, you can. I'm like you. I moved here because it was rural. If I wanted to move to a city, I wouldn't have moved.
Right.
Ever. Because I lived in a city at one time, but I didn't like that anymore. So it is going to happen. This is what they're going to do.
Wesley?
I know Mr. Griggs, and I know Lamar Pass, and I've been here since the late 60s. And I have seen the transition from Union County to what it was to what it is today. Nobody is even suggesting that we try to keep people from the county. And if you look at my Facebook now, I didn't see anything where you were talking. Now, if you look at my Facebook page, you're going to see the building department, Randy Day and Myrna, Lamar Parrish, and also Griggs. They're standing there talking about growth is coming back. And the most important issue on that is North Georgia News was we need to contain the growth to where we can manage it and not destroy Union County as its rural environment. Now, as far as who owns the U.S. forestry land, Kamala Harris right now is looking into just selling some of the public holdings of the Forestry Service. So, don't think that we're protecting.
Exactly.
Well, I was repeating comments, those were things repeated to me. They said, well, you're one of those people that want to put a gate up across 515.
I got you.
And I'm like, I
sounds
never
like
even,
propaganda.
that's not on my radar to do something like
Well,
that. And then
Talking point.
they pointed out to me, that the board members pointed out to me the fact that most of, I forget what percentage, I wish I had a fact, but what percentage of the areas in national forest, so it will preserve the look. They pointed that out to me when I was raising concerns about this.
That
So
figure's correct because Lamar said that. He said it was in the 60s and he said the same thing.
But if somebody else owns the national forest, anything's possible anymore. It could be sold off, it could be developed when we run out of other space.
Can I just, anyways, go ahead, you finish, I'm sorry.
The point that I'm trying to make, development is a good thing,
Yes,
as long as it is managed.
I agree.
But by the same token, you don't invite people into your county with no provisions to meet their accommodations.
And I agree,
We have got
Safety,
storage, we've got storage places full of these campers and RVs. These people come up here,
I understand.
well, I'm not arguing with you. I'm trying to say that this group here has been very effective in bringing to the public, and the public is interested in what's going on in their county. And I hate to say it, but most of the people in this county are ignorant to what's going on around them.
I would agree.
And, for us to stand here and say, well, these programs are really good. Have you actually looked at the impact of what these programs are going to do?
Okay.
Short time or long term, and I hush.
It was just my opinion from talking to
I
them that they're
understand.
trying to
You
do
understand.
what they can. I'm really worried about fire and police and medical services. That's with the population growth. Because
I was
that's
gonna ask
worries
you,
me.
what was your point you were starting to say about these folks with all these storage areas and campers and trailer, because that is like absolutely disgusting. Like, right in the middle of town, there's a bright blue storage area. I mean, who said okay to that? Number one. That's my personal problem, and not to mention, and I'm probably gonna get stoned for saying this. But, we wouldn't have all those, and this makes me a terrible person at my job. But I don't know how many of you here live in subdivisions and came from Florida subdivisions, and now that's all there is subdivisions with rules where these people can't even keep their trailers in their own driveways, and to find anybody with unrestricted land is more valuable at this point. That's why people came to the mountains. And now all of a sudden we have subdivision after subdivision after subdivision with all these rules that nobody can do a dang thing with anything. And now you've got all these storage places. You can't drive a motorcycle down the road. You can't keep your camper on your land. You can't, God forbid, you should paint you can't even build a garage unless it's just, if you really want to talk about turning this place into a city, I think you should start right there, because you have to have designs for houses to be approved at this point in the country. Like, what is all that crap? That upsets me, because there's no unrestricted land where people can buy a couple of acres.
We bought unrestricted land in November.
Well, it's a very, very few, and that's very few and far between.
I never even thought about the reason that there are camper storages is because people.
Because they're not allowed. They're not
Yeah,
allowed. All these
oh.
rules. It's like talk about not wanting this place to be Cobb County. Well, all these people who decided to have HOAs and make rules and run up and down the road and go, and your mailbox is 2 inches too high, and you can't do that. What are you thinking? It started there. I'm about to get stoned. I'm sure, but
I'm gonna be the devil's advocate. I live in a neighborhood and we have no restrictions, and man, I wish we did.
I get that too. I lived in one with no restrictions, and my neighbor took down all the trees, and I was nice and huddled in the forest,
I wouldn't live in
and he
that.
ripped down all the trees, so I get that too. But as far as you can have a few rules.
Okay, Diana, and then we're gonna move on to the next.
I'm just gonna make one comment. Any area that's showing growth of any kind has to have some form of planning.
Yeah.
That you cannot live, I'd love to say we could all live in the country, but if you moved out toward Tennessee, you could live in the country and not have any rules, okay? Because there's no growth going on out there. But any area that is sustaining growth has to have some form of planning. And I know when people talk about planning, they talk about planning and zoning. I'm not really talking about that, but our government officials need to have input from the community. Which direction does the community want to go? And unfortunately, this particular county is sorely lacking in that aspect. And I'm not talking about heavy restrictions or anything, just a goal. How do we want things to flow through the county? And we don't have that leadership, and that's extremely important to have that leadership, because if not, you're going to have what you're talking about. You're going to have apartments pop up all over the place because nobody said you can't do that. You're going to have a storage that's red, white, and blue right in the middle of downtown because no one said you weren't allowed to do that. I want to come out and I want to put a packing plant in the middle of downtown next door to a hole in the wall. I can put a packing plant in there and I can butcher cows. Because there's no planning. No one says those things aren't acceptable in this area. And that's where we're sorely lacking. So that's just kind of my comment.
Well, you've seen a couple of people on Facebook, and I've seen a couple of posts, and I was like, what? And like the one person, not saying anything, I was just like, here we are, doing some city planning. And I was like,
yeah.
That's why I started going to those, I've been going to those meetings since February. I moved here in November, and I've been going to on Friday, the third Friday at 9 a.m. and they do cancel them. I'm on his email now because they cancel them. They canceled last month, and they had a special meeting on the 2nd of September. And so, and I don't have any. I'm just sitting there listening, and then I do talk to Mr. Griggs afterwards. He's very personable. He's answering my questions. I know he can't, he can't say a lot of what's going on, but he does talk to you. But I don't know how you get a group, that's a great idea to get some kind of citizen.
It needs to be set up by the commissioner. The commissioner needs to set up a planning board.
So should I go to him and say,
you can. Unfortunately, what happens is, and I'm going to go off on a tangent here for just a second.
We have to move on soon though, because we're 30 minutes into the meeting and we have only covered 1 out of 5 subjects. Okay, Wesley, I know you're ready.
I want to follow up on the campers.
Yeah.
There's people that are living in this county. They don't pay taxes other than $200 a month for a space, including utilities to park these campers. And, I talked to, what's her name? The tax appraiser. What's her name?
Susie.
Phillips.
Yeah.
But anyway, she assures me that they're paying their taxes, and I disagree with that. Now, these apartment buildings you're talking about, giving them tax incentives to build here. As I understand, there's 5 low housing projects that's already on the slate to move in and be constructed here. Those are financed through USDA. The tax credits that they get, and they can sell those as worth about 50 to 60% of the total cost of those projects. They are funded and guaranteed payment by the federal government, which is you and I.
Right.
So, when you look at this and you think it's a good deal, and we're doing something that's really good, you really need to look at the intensity and what really is involved in these programs. This has been told to us several times by Hansel and also Stan King.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Diana, sorry I
That's
cut
okay,
you off.
that's all right. No, we can talk later.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Thank you. Okay, so now let's talk about protecting our election. Now, a lot has been going on in the country and in this state. Since I'm gonna put this up on YouTube, I want to remind everyone that I have had one video removed on YouTube. It was my third Citizen News report. It was an hour and it was a lot of work, but it was about election integrity and it got zapped quick, talking about Georgia.
It will.
Yeah.
but
So let's, you know, if you can catch yourself and use like a fun, goofy little code word for stuff, you know, that would be fun.
like boogeyman.
Yeah.
Boogie.
You know, calling it the political races, I've already said the word, but as far as there is a company that starts with a K, is it Kone? How do you say that? Konak.
Conic.
Yeah, I can't seem to wrap my head around exactly what it is that they
It's
do.
deep.
Yeah, but there's something going on with that, and it's going on in Georgia, and we need to look at it. Didn't we just, is it that company or another?
DCAD just signed.
A new agreement with them, right? Yeah, that's concerning. And then what is this, Lori? I know you know this. It's a different company, I think. Something about 67 out of 69 counties got found with some kind of code error.
Yeah, I
David
heard
Cross.
that, yeah.
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 So David Cross has, well, Tennessee.
Tennessee
Fill me
stuff.
in, Dean,
Yeah.
but Tennessee.
It's called the Williamson error.
Okay.
It exists in the version of software that we run here in Union County. And pretty much across the state, the same versions. And what it does is an error will pop up and then it begins skipping the next ballots. And it doesn't count them.
Oh yeah, I saw like thousands.
So it never matches.
Thousands
In
at a
fact,
time.
I printed out 2 pages of one of the logs from right here in Union County voting machine. And there's the error.
You mean you saw it in hours?
This is it,
What
right
is
here.
it? I don't know. So
It's
you
here.
hand it to me and like you understand what all that means, but it's not going to read the same to me.
I understand it. This is a system log and it's not normal English, but it's here and I've gone through the whole file that I have. That error shows up 50, 60 times.
So is this something that we could have caught if, and just follow me here, if when the primary happened and when Lori requested ballot images,
Hand count,
oh, a hand count, but the ballot images.
before it was certified.
Okay, before it was certified. And then you were told, because I was at that meeting, oh, we gave it to you. Oh, no, we didn't. Oh, we gave it to you. No, we didn't. Okay. So that to me, now that I'm looking at this whole thing, I'm feeling like that could also look just like pushing you off on the timeline. Okay. Because then the very next meeting you requested to be on the agenda and they said that meeting was canceled. So you were not allowed to be on the agenda, but then they had that meeting anyway without telling you, so you weren't at that meeting, thus pushing back the timeline. Hold on, I didn't see that. Thus pushing back the timeline. So if that timeline hadn't been pushed back and we were actually able to see, oh, by the way, pushing that timeline back meant that the paper ballots are now secured, but we cannot look at them to verify anything without a court order, and we are denied the court order because they're saying there's no reason. So
Plus, we
if we
don't have
had,
the digital ballot images either.
That's the big one, yeah.
and when Libby Stevens, who is the appointed chair, when Libby Stevens did finally admit, yes, oopsie daisy, we've been deleting ballot images since 2020. Thanks for pointing it out.
And that's what was it.
That was finally admitted once nothing could be done about it anymore. So
They
if
got
that
sued.
timeline,
They had to.
if that timeline hadn't been pushed back and we were able to get access to the ballot images before things were shut down, locked up, would we have been able to catch that?
we would have been able to catch something.
Okay,
We would not have been able to
see that,
dig that deep.
okay. I'm just wondering, 'cause I'm
We would
trying to
have
put it all
known that
together.
there would be a ballot count difference. We just wouldn't necessarily know why.
Huh, okay, yes,
But do you remember that the gentleman
he's sitting next to me. at
that
the-
was doing the training,
Oh, yes,
when Linda was sitting here going, but wait a minute, and he was like, no, those images are there.
right.
He said, no matter what, he goes, they're either lying to you or something
right.
else.
That is right, to tabulate
He
the
said, no
election.
matter what, if they're saying they were deleted or that they are not, they are there.
Well,
So
there's
I
a
don't-
little bit more to it than that, though. They have to create the image.
They
because
were created.
It's a digital world. So you have to take an analog ballot and turn it digital. So they must create the image. Now, keeping it is another matter. Because out in Mesa County, Colorado, there's a county clerk there,
Yes.
Tina Peters,
yes, sir.
did a forensic backup of the computer
Mhm.
before they did the update. Then did another one after the update. And elections were totally wiped out from that update. I suspect that we've gone through a similar.
But didn't she say, Miss Libby said that she would go to other counties?
Don't.
She
No,
never did
She
that,
was
did she?
asked if she would do that.
And she
Yeah,
said,
she was asked if
absolutely.
she would.
She was asked if she had, when you discovered this oopsie daisy, did you immediately go and tell the other counties? And she's like, no.
No, but she said towards the end of the meeting
That
that
she
she would.
Yeah, okay.
So I think we should hold her accountable to that.
I think being that she is appointed as the chair of our Board of Election, that she should be held accountable for everything. Because if we don't have accountability there, then how can we even look at any of our elected officials as truly elected officials?
We need a new board.
Yeah.
But you even, I'm sorry, Wesley, but
That's okay.
this is a hot topic for me. So, but you saw that Linda, I almost feel like she didn't believe her or anyone. And then when this gentleman spoke, she kind of went, oh,
Oh, there were ballot
oh,
images.
did we?
Oh, right.
Like they
John
refused to
Garland.
look into it because, oh, you're crazy, you're you're this, you're that. Well, this guy's standing up here straight up saying, and all of a sudden she went,
So
Right,
you realize that she was being lied to, more than likely.
right,
So there were ballot images, and they had to be there to tabulate the election, and
yeah.
And as you dig deeper into these machines, you realize that there's not just one ballot image. There's two and possibly three ballot images.
But,
So, hold
but
on.
what they did was, what Libby did was, when they uploaded, they were supposed to upload the images, correct me if I'm wrong, to the Secretary of State, and that's when they flipped the switch, and it's in the editorial.
Oh,
It's old, I just wanted to remind people that it was there.
okay.
So she flipped the switch and she uploaded the election without the digital ballot images, therefore Secretary of State doesn't have the digital ballot images, but they're on the memory cards. Well, then there was a Democratic runoff, and so they used the memory cards that had our digital ballot images on them, right?
That's what they're telling us.
That's what they're telling us. So
They
they're telling us we
they
don't have
apparently
it.
didn't have an extra $10 for another USB.
Now George has ordered extra cards, but the newspaper did publish my long, lengthy article. If you didn't go to the September 28th and haven't read that, this really just kind of lays it all out.
I saw there was a rebuttal to that in the recent paper,
I
and
didn't see that.
it didn't have any real information. It was just kind of
Fitzgerald?
like a, yeah.
I just rebutted his rebuttal.
To me, it read more of a, I don't know, more like it just excuses.
It's exactly what it was.
I'm sorry, but this is not
Oh,
about
I'm sorry, it
feelings.
was a boo-boo.
Yeah, this is not about feelings though, because I can't look at any of our elected officials like they actually are doing anything more than stealing a rightful spot from a citizen and stealing our money to do it. And that's how I feel about pretty much everybody that's an elected official at this point.
We need a board
That's
of
just
elections
me.
that cares.
Wesley.
Yeah, I don't care.
Laurie, that was a very good article you
Mhm.
had in the paper.
Yes.
It's very informative and very correct as well. Now, I looked and I've been looking at a company up in Tennessee, which is it the Corrupt Company? Is that how you pronounce that? And they're using the ballot images to actually confirm as a check and balance if the votes, the printed votes are actually counted.
Right.
And what they are saying, that I think it's 6 out of 18 are not being counted. And it's because of an error, and they cannot
That's what we
figure
were just
out
talking
what
about.
has caused that.
That is what Dean was talking about in the very beginning, the error code, and it is happening,
There's 3 different error codes.
well, there's 10 or 12 in
Yeah, there's a
Tennessee.
bunch.
So I'm talking about the more effective ones.
Okay,
Now,
Right
there's
here, there's 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So we have it.
the thing that I'm concerned about is this, those images. Well, first of all, let me back up and say
Format
this.
error.
Y'all need to understand that you're actually dealing with incompetent people.
Yeah.
George Birch, Linda Hill. I'm not gonna say that about Libby, because she and I have had some real strong conversations lately. The thing that concerns me is in 2020 and the presidential election, I was part of the recount on the ballots. There was 2 ballots in Choice Story. There's one in Johns Creek, and there was one at the courthouse and the balloting process at the scanners. We detected on the ballot, if you remember, it had a barcode on it. One barcode. Those that I just mentioned had 2 barcodes. I brought that to Stan Gunner, I brought it to the Secretary of State's office, and I even brought it up at one of the general meetings of the Union County Republican Party when Libby Stevens was there. And she made the comment she had never heard that before. Well, that's not true. But getting back to these, how, if it wasn't intentional, how would you delete those images? Because that scanner, it does 2 things. It counts the ballots and it scans the image of that ballot.
yeah, so Libby was saying that when in the upload, there is a default, now we've heard a couple stories, so I'll just say one story. The default is that they do not get deleted. And so they accidentally flipped the switch and that they got deleted. They were there, you're right, they have to be there to tabulate the election. I don't know exactly, but it gets tabulated with these machines, and then the results go up to the Secretary of State. So, or it could have been that they said the default is, we're not sending them, and they didn't touch anything, and they were supposed to push the button. So one way or another, it's this little button that Libby had said, and I think Garland verified that right at the meeting
He verified the existence of that software switch.
of the switch.
Are you saying the images no longer exist?
That's what we are being told by Libby, because they were only stored, we were hoping that they were stored on the hard drive. They didn't go to the Secretary of State. They are saved on the memory card, and I've got slides that I could send you that Garland had. And it's got all the 3 different places where everything's go. And what goes on this memory card? Well, there was a Democratic runoff, and so they wrote right over them. So Dean's thinking that they're in the hard drive still somewhere, possibly. Is that right?
I do believe they're still there, and at least as far as, let's say, the primary that we just went through, they said that the precincts store everything on the memory card. The memory card gets transferred over here, they move it over to the server. They're saying they never move the images from the memory card received from the precincts to the server, only the data. And now that they're setting up for this election, they overwrote that.
Oh, good.
Now, anyone who understands computer forensics knows that that data is still there whether you overwrote it or not.
Yeah.
Nobody has looked for it.
Yeah, I find
It's
that
not easy to
interesting.
get, but it can be done.
Of course, we could do a hand count if the Secretary of State would
Right.
understand our
Forget
concern,
that.
but
It's
he's
never
the one
gonna
that
happen.
bought the machines, and then he just won on the machines in the very
Right.
election we wanna check, even
Right.
though I don't know one person that voted for him.
So here's the remedy.
Yeah,
Ready?
yeah.
Okay, so you have to, if there's a criminal action, then we have to go after the criminal action first, and you have to find from Title 21 something to 500. They're in there, 21 to 500. The basic thing is, and I want to mention poll watching because if I need people to sign up, so don't let me forget that. But so we ask the superintendent, but first we find out from the county, I'm gonna sidetrack a little here. We need to find out from the county attorney, which is Pettit, who the superintendent is. It could be the chair, it could include the chair and the Board of Elections, or it could include the chair of the Board of Elections and the registrar board. So I put a call into the attorney, if anybody wants to get the number and put a call into, the secretary said, well, he's not here. I said, well, so when's he come? I don't know. And, well, what about tomorrow? I don't know. I said, well, how would I ask him a question? I don't know. So I said, does he have a voicemail? Oh, yeah. I said, okay, well, let me leave him a message. Okay. So this is going to be a little tricky to get to the county attorney to ask who it is that is the quote superintendent. So then
With the county attorney being
his
Langley?
name is William, his name
William
is
Johnson.
Mercer?
William Mercer is the assistant.
Oh,
Boyd
what?
Boyd Pettit is the county attorney.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How did I not know
He's been
that?
that for years.
I thought Mercer was.
No, Mercer's
No.
assistant.
Oh.
So, y'all can, that's a call to action, is to call him and rattle his cage so that we can get the answer to that. But here's the question, we need to ask the question, please make a legal determination whether the contract between Raffensperger and Georgia is void. So, it's contract law, and so when Raffensperger signed the contract to use Dominion, at that moment in time, those machines violated 2 Georgia codes, therefore voiding the contract. So we need to, I think at the next elections board meeting, which is coming up, I think more than one person needs to be on this and ask the same question over and over again. I don't know. So, and I can get documentation to back this up. And so once they determine that the machines, that it's void, then what we can do is, so I've been requesting that we do paper ballots. So what we could do is use the ballot marking devices, which spit out a selection paper, call it ballot, but it's not. That's our paper. And then we don't use the scanner because those guys are illegal. That contract's void. And then we can either optical scan them from a scanner or hand count them.
Okay, the ballot marking devices, the Department of Homeland Security just issued a report with 9 very serious vulnerabilities in it. So I would say, you don't want to use those.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it would be
Hand mark them.
one step back, yes, so, yes, definitely paper ballots, yes.
Can we request the paper ballot at the time we go to vote?
No, because that has,
So
well,
we can do an absentee
the absentee is the way to not use the
machine
Dominion
Okay.
Security Suite.
Absentee balloting
Right.
is the way.
and then take it in.
And that you would
Hand it in.
turn into the election office, right?
And then it's scanned.
Not where you actually vote.
On election day, it goes to
Right.
the registrar's office. I went over to Libby's office, she said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm turning in my absentee ballot." She says, "You better get over to the registrar's
Yeah.
office quick." So it's
And that's located at the courthouse?
the courthouse.
Okay.
When is that next meeting, the Board of Election meeting?
Second Wednesday.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock? I gotta get it.
So whoever wants to get their heads together with me and Dean and work on the strategy, I need to get your information and we need to come up with plan.
Yeah, it's really important. I can't let go of the primary. I mean, I know people say, let it go, like 2020, but the primary is where you get to choose who's gonna be up. Now we're just getting to choose between,
Who got selected in
Yeah.
the primary.
it
If
makes
you'd
my
like to
stomach
catch
hurt.
up on some of this stuff, Lori made it in the paper a couple good times, I think.
There's,
And if you go to the watchdog, Union County Government Watchdog,
Watchdogs on Facebook.
there's always current stuff going up there.
And you can just put a search.
Sometimes gets long, but it's better detailed than that.
there's so
And we
much
somehow-
information flowing.
Yeah.
It's just mind boggling.
Linda.
I just wanted to mention, good luck with Boyd Petit. I've been dealing with him for years, trying to send him stuff about what's going on in this county. And his reply is always, "I work for the county, not for you."
Wow.
So
we pay
that
him.
is criminal because he said an oath to the Georgia Constitution, and we need to work on that. We need to hold him accountable too. It's time. We've got, let's see, so the Georgia state and the United States, think of them as corporations, and we are sitting on the board of directors, and we have to start thinking this way, and I'm learning about this.
I say
So
yes.
it's not right.
Right, and like I said, I've been trying to put in front of him things that are going on in this county for years, and the illegal use of our money, and trying to bring it to his attention, and his comment is, "I work for the county."
It's criminal action, and everybody across the state of Georgia is getting involved in this thing, and,
Well, hopefully I just wanted to let you know my.
yes,
what
and I
I've done.
figured as much as, his secretary.
I would imagine he would push it off to the Attorney General anyway, being that it's a
Good luck with
state
the
issue.
Attorney General.
Right, he just won with all
Which
this.
means it just goes down a deep dark hole.
Wesley.
Lori, do you have any alternatives to force the issue, to get somebody to take a legal position on what you're trying to accomplish?
I will have exhibits and evidence
No.
of fact.
What
And-
agency, let me rephrase that, what agencies have you talked with?
None.
Yeah, we need to figure out how to make things happen.
That's the hard part.
Right.
Well, that
So-
actually goes into our next
So
topic.
can I just
Yeah.
close with poll watching?
Mhm, yeah.
Okay, so actually the who came to the poll watcher training? Awesome, thank you guys. I've got the sign-up sheet. If you got the email from Linda, I printed that out. We can fill that in later if you want to at the end of the meeting. Another thing is they did say that they trained us to say if there's something going on, you step outside and call the hotline. So you can also, I think she said, talk to the poll manager. There's also other remedies. If you need to tell somebody about something, you can, there's the sheriff, right? The deputies, and we said the deputies right there, which that was a good thing. And then the last thing is that at the Superior Court's office, there is a judge there on election day at 7 a.m. till probably late into the evening. And that superior judge, if perchance you say to the poll manager, and you just say, this is what my problem is, and what do you want, and then what do you want to do about it? So you've got to throw it in their lap that they've got to do something about it because it's a problem. And if they say, oh, it's not a problem, but it really is, then you go to the next level. Then you talk to the deputy right there. And if he doesn't do anything, then if there's still poll watchers, you can get in your car and you can drive down to the Superior Court and give a report to the judge. And then he has to, summon the parties and get that squared away. So that's a final layer that I didn't know about. So
A lot of this is stuff you'll run into in the big city, but not so much around here.
it's
Every now and
nice
then.
to know.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Just
Did you say we had to fill out something?
To be a poll watcher?
I've got the poll watcher
Schedule.
sign-up schedule that
Yeah.
Linda emailed. We're combining, we're doing it together. Everybody's going on the one sign-up sheet. So I printed out what she emailed last night. Are you on her list? Did you not get the email? Okay, I guess not. So anyway, talk to me afterwards. Talk to me afterwards. I printed it out and we'll fill in whoever's here who wants to, instead of having to call you and so forth. So, and I think that's it. Just instead of waiting until next month to hear what's happened, if you want to give me your information, if you want to keep in touch, and you want me to keep throwing you all the stuff that I keep on getting, get with me, give me your email, tell me yes, I want to do this, and I'll be happy to throw some of that your way.
Yeah, I appreciate that from you, because I don't have the time to
'cause there's way
do
more.
that myself.
There's way
Oh,
more.
there's
There's
tons
Pro
of
V&V, there's
Yeah.
Eric, there's, it's just so much.
We need to move on to the next topic, and the thing is that there's just so much to talk about, and I'm really, really glad that we get to do that here. That we get to do it anywhere, actually.
And there's stuff from Garland. I've got these from the poll watcher if you want to take a push card in. So
Thank you so much for bringing him here for that training too. That was fantastic.
You're welcome.
And that brings me to citizens correcting government oversight, because that's what we have going on here. We would not have known that we had missing ballot images if it wasn't for the persistence of our citizens. And then on the news, they have the nerve to say alleged missing ballot images when all they would have had to do was pick up the phone or go to the Voices of Union County channel that I've thrown together on YouTube covers the story. We have it. We have, Libby Stevens. I have Libby Stevens on record saying that they're missing, but they couldn't even pick up a phone. Instead, they want to make it look like the citizens doing this work are crazy people. It was in the same snippet on air and on Facebook where they said that the YouTube channel, the Voices of Union County, is an activist group talking about alleged missing ballot images. So they're not reporting on this. The citizens are having to discover it, having to do the investigations and do the reporting, only to be treated horribly for doing so. And it's really upsetting. But it's not just the election. There are other things too that are going on. We've been getting corrections made in other areas. Do you have anything that you'd want to share with us about corrections that have been getting made with, for example, a handful of months back, we had a financing committee, I think it was, had a meeting because the citizens were saying, hey, Mr. Paris, you purchased some serious property with our money and you never gave it back to the county. It's not been put back in our name for a very, very, very long time. And they said, oh, it's an oversight. Oversight is the word. So I hear that there is yet another one that has been missed.
The community center.
The community center.
Yeah, and supposedly Mercer's trying to get that corrected for us.
But he's trying to get it corrected after you, the citizen, pointed out the oversight. Right. So it concerns me how the only things that I see being corrected or admitted to are the things that the citizens themselves are having to uncover. And yet the citizens themselves are being chastised for doing that.
Yeah.
Well, that's our job. That's our citizen duty.
It is our job.
Yep.
But you also mentioned that these people swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. And ironically, I got a little bit of bitter behind this, can't tell. Ironically, we had Constitution Week last month, where the commissioner asked that we do our vigilant duty to uphold our liberties of the Constitution after having just given a speech that was about 35 minutes, and 25 minutes of that meeting was spent seriously publicly destroying citizens that are doing their due diligence, lumping them all into one group, even though that's not a thing. It's just random citizens, and then we all talk to each other because we want to know what's going on, right? And
double tongue.
Trying to destroy that from happening, and in doing that, also trying to keep people from listening to those citizens. So it seems like the only thing I've seen since I finally started paying attention to local government, the only corrections I've seen and the things being admitted are the things that are being caught by the citizens who are then being chastised. And that's really upsetting to me.
So that's the point of waking up the citizens.
Right.
This is what Mr. Mercer wrote. He said, I will have to check to get the actual date, but there should be a meeting soon of the Urban Redevelopment Authority in Union County, in which I would assume the deed transfer would be on the agenda for them to vote on. I have already drafted a deed for when they can meet so that there would be no delay on my part. I will check on the date and get back to you. If you have any other concerns like this, please let me know. If you remember, you said something about this in another meeting. I heard what you said. I wrote it down when I had time. I looked into the matter, and the county is rectifying the situation. I am here to help you if you feel there is something I can help with this, like the situation.
Interesting. Was the other property, will you please refresh my memory, was that other property that they just rectified the oversight? Was that the Hill property?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
this was the, where Bill Elliott's property, where Lamar put it in the Union County Finance Corporation.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was in his name.
That's
This
right.
one, he set up an urban redevelopment authority, and that was supposed to be turned over when it was bought. You know, I mean, when it was.
Are you the one that brought it to their attention, both of the properties?
Yes.
Both
Well,
of them?
I worked with Mike Sims. I gave him all my information that I gathered years ago, and Mike Sims filed the lawsuit. And so that was done, but this one was never done, so I brought it to their attention also.
But you're also the citizen that 15 years ago, he did the exact same thing he's doing now, trying to get everyone to not listen to you and to chastise you and to excommunicate you from the community. But you're also the one that's catching the oversights that they are then having to correct.
Well, another one.
This is so dangerous, and I am really mad.
Well, the other one is where the old chamber is. All right, he used splash money to build it, and I love the VA. don't get me wrong, but that property belongs to the, DOT. It does not belong to the county.
What?
Yeah, it belongs to the DOT. And so I found all the records on that. And so when I told Lamar, I said, Lamar, that property is not ours. How are you spending splosh? It's not an owned or operated property to be spending splosh money. So what does he do? He goes into the Susie Phillips and had him just write the name that's the county property. So she just, so no deed, no nothing, and he writes, tells her to change it into the county property.
How long has she been in office? Does anyone know?
She was appointed by Lamar,
Oh.
so that's why she.
Wait. She wasn't appointed. The tax commissioner that was there resigned, and she self-appointed herself. And that's how she got to where she's.
Well, he keeps appointing her back in there because she's covering up for all his land deals. All his land deals that we've uncovered.
Yes, tell us.
All his land deals that we uncovered where Lamar was cheating on his taxes for 20 years, she just changed them and he got away with it, so.
What you're talking about, are you talking about the issue involving measuring land with the GIS? Hey, fun, this is interesting. So what you're talking about, what she's talking about is they measured his property with the measuring tool on the GIS tax map and saw that it was more than what he was claiming.
Less.
It was less.
No, it was.
He had more, it measured bigger than what he was claiming.
Right, there you go.
And then that property was in his wife's name, right?
Not all of it, some of
Not all
it
of
was
it, okay. But that is relevant because that would mean that it was both of them, right? Right, so you noticed that, and let me know if I get this wrong, but, okay, so then he immediately removes the measuring thing on, the measuring tool from the GIS map. If you've ever looked on the GIS map and wondered why you can't measure from one point to the other, this is why. He had it removed when that happened.
Susie Phillips removed it and said we were data mining.
Yes, in the newspaper it says malicious data mining.
Right.
Okay, and then, of course, that was shortly before they put in the security and put in the newspaper that they had to upgrade the security at the courthouse because dangerous.
Pulling up the records.
Okay, yeah. And then he also, if any of y'all saw that 30-second clip that I put up where he is talking about saying horrible things about a woman 15 years ago, this is what he was protecting. And he's saying, I could sue her and all this. There are two much longer videos out there where he did the same thing he just did at the Democrat meeting, but it was 14 years ago, actually, 2008. And in one of those meetings, he's talking about how you're going after his wife, and he's insinuating you're just a crazy person that's going after his wife out of spite, but it was because her name was on that property. Okay, and saying he could sue you, and there's so many news articles that he put out in the paper to make everyone hate this woman and not listen to what she had to say, but it was all based on the property that you found measured more than what he was claiming. They were both claiming, he and his wife. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, but
yeah, this is what started my whole thing.
Yeah,
by the
but
way.
I went back 20 years. I went through all the tax records for 20 years for each one of his parcels. And then we pulled the deeds on his property. And then we compared them, and we knew that, all of it was false information, that he was underreporting.
And then who did you go to report that to? Was it Susie Phillips?
Well, we went to Susie Phillips, I went to the IRS, I went all over trying to get somebody to pay attention.
And the only thing that was notably different after you went and did that was that the measuring tool was removed?
Yeah.
Just so we know.
They did change.
And by the way, this is what has been lighting my fire for the last year, was when I learned about that, and then the incredible defamation of character going along with it. Yeah. I'm really sorry that you went through that.
Well, you know what it feels like now.
Yeah. Yeah. With the history there to back things up and with the ability to be loud, you know, and all of that, we have support of other citizens that are able to see, and that's really nice.
Well, we have a new thing that we just sent out, Zeb put it all together, you know, to follow along with this lawsuit, and that just went out in the mail yesterday. It's going to, you know, when he's falsified grant records. And so, you know, and then he falsified records for the lawsuit, you know, in their affidavits and stuff. So hopefully we'll get some attention, but I doubt it. So if I haven't got any attention in all these years, I don't think.
Just keep piling it up,
We just,
and hopefully, when you have those things, give it to me, I'll put it out there, do my best.
yeah.
It's a lot, there's a lot, yes.
One thing we need, I'm working on some stuff, but there's quite a few of us working on individual things, and we collaborate
Individual,
sometimes.
not group.
Yeah, it's really important that, and I spoke this at one meeting already, it's real important that if you see something
Say
that
something.
is, seems odd, do your research, dig deep. It takes a lot of time, but dig deep. I mean, we're looking at, there's so much. We purchased, and when I say we as the county, okay? So you're gonna hear me say we a whole lot. We purchased a piece of property back in 2017. It basically was a funeral sale, okay? I'm gonna call it a funeral sale. We do a lot of those. When someone that is in the community dies, and they're someone that's been around for a long time, we as a county run to their family and we buy a piece of their property.
Wow.
But you would think it would be a garage sale, right? No, we pay more than it's appraised. We get an appraisal on the property and we pay 15% more.
How is that not money long term?
Oh, it's crazy. So, and this happened with a piece of Davenport property. Nothing against Davenports, but Mr. Leo, I think it's Leon Davenport died in January 17. We, in June, bought a piece of property that's over by the farmer's market on the other side of where the dog park is. We bought that property. We got it appraised. Lamar says in a county meeting, well, they could have asked $1 million for it, but I gave them this price, and I asked the county attorney if I could pay 15% more. So we paid 15% more over what the appraisal was. Now that piece of property from 2017 is still sitting there empty. That's yours and my money. That's our money. We bought it. It's ours. And we've done nothing with it. It's just sitting there. Now, in turn, immediately after we paid the Davenports more than the property was appraised for, we went over to across the street to the other Davenport's property that's on next to Sears where Tractor Supply is right now, and we paid people to design that road in between Sears and Tractor Supply, and that was Davenport's property. So we paid money to do all the designing of that road. Now Davenport gave us the right of way, but you follow that connection.
Yeah,
okay, we
that's a
pay
lot of
them more
money.
money, then we put in a road for them so they can sell that property so Tractor Supply can put a leased building on it. I mean, you follow that trail.
Who says
and you
rednecks
just-
aren't smart?
and so when you start following these trails, they lead you into places. And I gotta tell you, I'm up sometimes till 4 o'clock in the morning because we start a trail and pretty soon I'm over in some other country following this trail. but that's what's happening here. So there's I can tell you I know of at least 5 funeral sales.
Yeah.
At least 5 funeral sales where we've the head of the big guy that's been in the community for all his life dies off, and the cousins and the sisters and the brothers get this property, and Union County runs over there and gives them more money. It's like we pay them because their person died in their family. it'll drive you crazy. It'll absolutely drive you crazy. But I know at least 5 of them I've done research on that this has happened. We've paid way more. The Hill property is another prime example. That started me in this. That started me as Gowder, Pills in the Hills, buys the Hill property from the pharmacist at the hospital, okay? Used to be the pharmacist of the hospital. He buys their property. He gives this guy a life estate for his wife. Gowder needs money to pay his lawyers because he's gonna go to jail. He sells it to Scotty Fain under a corporation.
Bannon.
Scotty Fain goes around and sells it to us. Now we own a piece of property.
Wait, but for how much
paid-
and how much?
We paid $750,000.
How much did Scotty Fain buy it for just before we bought it?
500. 400 and something, yeah, right around 500.
And
So
that was only
and that was
a short
6
period of
months.
time.
6 months. In 6 months, we pay an additional $250,000 for this house that has a life estate on it.
We can't even
This
use.
woman can live in this house for the rest of her life and pay nothing. Now legally, a life estate is supposed, the person that has a life estate, it's kind of like, it's used for, like your kid, okay? You know, your kid, mom and dad are getting old, they give the mom and dad a life estate, and when they die, it just automatically gets turned over to the children. That's usually how it works, but now the county owns this life estate. So when she dies, it becomes the county's property, but that's not how the county did it. The county made it Union County property. So the woman that's living in this life estate, the Hills, she doesn't pay any taxes on it. So we own this $750,000 house on about 3 acres. She pays nothing. She pays that. She doesn't even pay insurance because it's under Union County's name, and so our insurance pays for that house to be insured. So if it burns down, it's Union County's insurance. Those are the kind of crazy things. You know, I mean, yes, shoe factory is another one. I mean, if you dig deep, and it takes hours and days and weeks, but if you start digging into this mud, you will be sick. I mean, you will actually be disgustingly sick at what goes on with yours and my money. And again, that's why I constantly say we. When I say we buy this, we buy that, because it is we. It is not Lamar that's buying this. He is the one signing the paperwork, but we are buying all of these pieces of property. And the stuff we own is just incredibly crazy. I mean, literally, we own stuff that we're never gonna do anything with. We have all this empty property all
And
over
it's
the
using our
place.
tax money when we're trying to figure out how to make our tax money not keep going up.
Yeah,
And they keep
exactly.
acting like there's something
Yeah.
wrong with us for even saying such a
Right.
thing, or for discovering all these discrepancies, or for any of the stuff. And I'm sorry, but, so you say go dig in those
Oh,
things.
dig.
Well, yeah,
I
the
mean,
more you dig on that, you discover all that. The more you dig on election integrity, you discover all that. The more I dig on behavior and stuff, I discover more and more. It's like all of these different subjects, and I'm so glad that we have citizens in this county that care and also have their own area of expertise that they dig on, because we can discover all these things that we're not gonna hear about otherwise.
And I beg people just to pick one thing, things will come up, just pick one thing and just dig into it and then spread it out there. I mean, because if there's only 3 or 4 of us doing it, we look like we're constantly, ragging on Lamar. Look at those 4 people are constantly ragging. I mean, this has me infuriated, and I don't normally get this pissy, but I'm doing it every single day, and we're running into everything that we look at goes down 5 other things that are just disgusting, and it will totally disgust you. When you start looking at where our money goes, it's just incredibly crazy. And I'm a newbie here, so it's hard for me sometimes to follow these trails.
Well, I appreciate it
But
very much.
it's nuts. It'll drive you
Linda, you were
crazy.
gonna add something, and then we're gonna move on to the tax bill.
Okay, I just wanted to say something real quick about the Mountain View. That's what this was all about, and what Zeb was working on. coded that property that's
And they're raising
no,
it for everybody.
that they sold, that's now, no data. They put no data, so I wanted to find out why. Is this coded no data? You know, why can't we find out who the owners are? And they said, oh, it's this, you know, we can't tell because, you know, they gave me a code that we can't, you know, that they can hide this under. It's like it's a secret. Well, it's more people connected to the hospital, you know, and it's like, oh, but the person's dead, so what does it matter? But it says no data. So, but that's, you know, that's the stuff that they're doing to cover up, you know, and
That's
not
crazy.
Well,
Is
it's
that legal?
easy, you just go down to the courthouse and pull the deeds, which I
Doesn't seem to
did,
matter.
you know, and you find out who the owner is, and it's like, this is so stupid to be hiding, you know, what are they trying to hide? You know, we paid for the road, you know, to get through that property to make it more valuable for them.
Right, but if you remember, I mean, a year ago, when I started going to these county meetings and filming, not very many people were going to those meetings. Now people are going, but it was like, who knew if they were approving what? Nobody was there, you know? Okay, Wesley, and then the tax bill, because
Just real quick.
yeah,
Diana, for you to start at the beginning of that trail, you'll have to go back to Union County Bank, where Jack Lance sold Robert Head and W.C. Nelson the ownership or the controlling stock in Union County Bank.
Yeah.
That is the beginning of this whole shebang.
Yeah, if you look at the bank, and there was, I don't know, what was it, it was before 17, they lost, I think about $25 million by selling property that had been repossessed, and there was a group of people that went around and bought all of these properties for pennies on the dollar. I mean, when you start looking at the banks, it's crazy. It's crazy what they sold. People bought properties right now that are worth $1 million for $3,000-$4,000.
Wow.
It was crazy. It was real crazy.
that is crazy. Okay, thank you for all of that information, seriously. And also for everything that y'all are doing, and everything that everybody is doing, because that's the only way that we're finding out anything. Okay, so let's wrap up with the tax bill. I didn't really cover suppression of citizens' rights, but I kind of did. And did y'all see the part one of the news report that I just put out that shows the conversation, not the conversation, the speech that Lamar just gave?
Where are all of these?
Oh, Voices of Union County on YouTube.
Voices of Union County.
Yeah.
Georgia.
Voices of Union County, Georgia. But on Facebook, it's just Voices of Union County, and on Telegram, also just Voices of Union County. If you just type in Voices of Union County, it comes up in the search list. Yeah, watch that, because that right there, it's just the first, that's just recent stuff, you know, it's been going on a long time, but the speech that he gave to the Democrats, where he's basically saying that everybody is a group of undesirables, that he actually says, let me tell you how they all are. They all, blah, 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 would disrespect everyone and everything except for what we want, and also we're against children and the roads and the hospital and all the schools. There's no group though. But he pointed me out specifically, and you, as members of this group. It's the only people he pointed out. So basically, you and I are known for being against children, against the roads, against the hospital. I have nothing to do with any of these things. That's absolutely insane. Also saying we get together before meetings to designate a disruptor. Yeah, so that's interesting. Because have you seen anyone be able to tell me what to do ever?
No.
Yeah, like not. But they try.
Yeah.
Alexis,
Well,
you know, I'm really enjoying this. And it's funny, really,
okay.
because the more he talks, the bigger fool he makes of himself. And he actually shows he's not a very person of depth.
Well, that's what happens when you control the news everywhere and you show up for events in your, Sunday best, then you can control a perception.
He was expecting me to go back and forth with him.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I didn't. And then all of a sudden, he actually made a big fool out of himself in front of his own party.
He was horribly mean to you.
No, that's okay. Just like I said, that doesn't bother me. He can say whatever he wants.
Yeah, I know, but he also, you pay his salary. I'm just gonna point it out, so I don't think that the commissioner should be mean to anyone. Especially, I'm seeing every week a person is arrested for pedophilia. People are busted for copious amounts of drugs. But we are the worst people in the entire county, as per that speech. And why? Because I filmed the words he's saying to people and I put it up for everyone to see. You can't control that and spin that on, in the newspaper. And you ask questions and educate people on things that you know about. That makes you dangerous and the worst person. I mean, it's ridiculous. But now let's go ahead and go to tax bills. And we'll try to make this informative and get everything out and wrap it up because we don't need a 2-hour meeting. But I'm wondering, did anyone in here have their tax bill go down? No. Nobody.
Went up.
Mine went down $700.
Did it really?
But it went up $4,200 last year.
Oh. Okay then. Yeah, mine didn't go down. Mine went up.
Mine went up.
Yours went up?
Yeah, I thought they were all
2 years
supposed
in a row.
to at least stay the same.
At least stay the same.
Yeah.
Vince had a really good article.
Oh, he did?
Yes, he explained the millage rate
Yeah.
and the property assessments and it was
Vince was really
excellent.
good at explaining that. So Vince is a mathematician, if y'all don't know who he is. He is a character, and he's a mathematician. He's very smart at that, but he's also really good at communicating the math, which I've never found those two things in one person before. So his explanation, we talked about that here last month, I think, about how you can have the assessments go up and the millage rate go down. It doesn't matter how much the millage rate goes down if the assessment goes way up. Well, it turns out all of this hoopla about the lower millage rate didn't help me, but
That's in September 28 too.
good job. September 28 magazine, or newspaper, he wrote about that. Okay, well, does anyone have anything they want to say about the tax bill? I'm not an expert on taxes at all, but I know that it's something people are. We just got it, so I figured I'd put it on the agenda for us to talk about. And while I do that, thank you for actually, while I do, will you pass this around? We're gonna pass the basket around to be able to cover the room. I totally forgot. Thanks for the reminder back there.
Alexis, there's
Yes.
something very important that's just recently come up.
What's that?
There was a hearing before the U.S. State Supreme Court this morning. And it involves our petition. I sent all you guys emails about it.
Wait, what?
Yes, it was. And what's happened in Camden County, the county wanted to buy a parcel of land from Yukon Chemical Company.
Huh.
They came together in a population of 50,000 people. They got and used the home rule to create a petition, and they followed the letter to the law. And now, all of a sudden, the county says they did not, it was, what was it? It was illegal for them to use that process to change a decision of the county. Well, this morning, ACCOG, y'all know who they are,
Yeah,
the county
the Kremlin,
commissioners. They represented 159 counties this morning. They are trying to strike down the constitutional provision in Article 2, 9 of our Georgia Constitution.
ACCG's doing that?
Well, not only them, the county attorneys, and then another group. And it's over the seaport. You know, y'all may have heard about this. I'm very thankful, and I hope I did not misconstrue what I heard those justices saying. They were trying to use a Kemp decision, previous decision, to overrule the Article 9 of the Georgia Constitution. And the justices says, no, you are trying to eliminate a constitutional provision. Now, also, I contacted some friends, and they are writing a letter to the court as a friend of the court. And what they're saying, not only does Georgia Constitution allow that, but it's demanded from the U.S. Constitution. Y'all need to stay on top of this, and you need to write letters to the Supreme Court.
Okay. I'll look for that email. I didn't.
Yeah, I sent it.
Okay. Yeah, so if you don't know, the ACCG is the, I think I'm saying this right, the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia, right? And so it's like the county commissioners that run all of Georgia. Our sole commissioner was president of ACCG. ACCG also covers the insurance bonds on those commissioners' oaths of office, which I find a really interesting overlap, you know, but yeah.
Alexis, they are nothing more than a lobbyist group.
Right, yeah, in fact, I think it was their dream child was the whole SPLOST thing. Came
right.
from ACCG. So I find it really interesting that our county commissioners are all part of this group that has its own political agenda. I mean, does anyone else find that interesting?
And
And so where do we the people fit in then?
We don't.
You don't?
Yeah.
And they write the book for SPLOST and how it's supposed to be spent, and the Attorney General is supposed to enforce the law, but nobody will enforce the law of all the misuse of our money.
You know, I will say, if it wasn't this bad, if it hadn't gotten this bad, then people wouldn't be paying attention right now. Because I didn't even think to go pay attention to local politics or local government until 2020. You know?
But we can't, not that it's an excuse, but this can't be the only county. I mean,
Oh,
could
no,
you
no,
imagine?
all
It's all
of
over.
Georgia, all of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and I do want to say, I do understand when going back to the idea of Mr. Paris saying that all these people are a group, it must be really confusing, like all of a sudden, all at once, all these people started showing up asking questions, but that's just because of the times, you know? Things are really screwed up and it's so obvious. No. Well, thank you for that information. I have smart friends. I really like that. Does anyone else have anything else to add? Okay, it's a wrap. Oh, wait back. Yep. Go ahead.
Alexis, you hear lately, I've been putting some very important information on my Facebook, which is schools, the library and the books that they're putting into our libraries at school, and just like the ones that I had mentioned. And these are very, very important. And the article about the group up in Tennessee, that is probably, to me, the best definition or explanation of these images and the importance of those images.
That is David Cross. His website is gaballots.com.
I sent an email to you about that group, and you know, it's really interesting what they have actually, across the country, you know, they have been able to do.
They filed a complaint on September 12th, and I guess they're going again to file another one with these errors. And I think the state election board might have said, well, you know, why did you take so long? He said, well, you know, the Secretary of State won't give us any of the information.
Yeah, they shut them down.
You know, Dean and I, Annette and I were driving, I guess about a month and a half ago, and Dean and I were talking. And we were talking about what is a legitimate, legal, political party in the state of Georgia. And we came up with only two. Well, Annette, she really nosy, and she gets all upset about this stuff. She immediately that day on her phone sent an email to the Secretary of State. It started off, they responded and says, we do not have an answer for you. And the question was yes or no. Are there more than two political parties in the state of Georgia? She's gotten 7 different responses. And just yesterday, she got another one saying, I'm sorry for the delay, but we're actually having to do the research to find out if there's more than 2 parties in the state of Georgia. So, you know, it's just sort of interesting when you ask direct questions
That's
to
the
people,
key.
they
That's
do
key.
not know.
You're good at that.
That is key.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just historically, if anybody knows the answer, how is it that the Georgia Guidestones were built in Georgia? Like, how did Georgia become the home of this thing? I just
I don't
wonder,
know
seeing
if
that
anyone
y'all are so,
actually knows that.
like, how did that even happen?
Like, I don't think anyone even knows
I
who
believe it's
exactly.
There's
Private-
speculation, but
Yeah.
nobody really knows.
It's on private property, it's not on.
But why did it,
Private
why did it,
property.
I guess what I'm wondering is, it just turns out that Georgia seems to be very important in the
Hollywood
throes
is
of this
here too
country.
now and all of that.
Well, one of the speculation things is that it was Ted Turner. And
Well, it would
since
have to be, wouldn't it?
And since he was, you know, CNN in Atlanta, Georgia makes sense.
It just seems, it just is funny, like how Georgia seems to be so important in so many different facets of things. It's just, it's wild, but anyway.
It's become-
Okay, well, on that interesting note, we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming, everybody.
Yes, I was just gonna.
Inputs that Greg wrote.